Hello and welcome. We appreciate you joining us here today. We will be getting started right on the top of the hour, so get that last second coffee refill or something to take some notes with, and we'll see you in about 5 minutes time.
Let's see. There are antlers on the wall.
I love it. It's a very rustic background.
Yeah. There's also a bear. Let's see here. We got a bear. Yeah, there's a bear there in the corner.
I love it.
And the video looks fine.
Yep, video quality is great. And Megan's yours
Awesome.
is great too. Yep.
Okay, excellent. Got plenty of battery.
Good.
And if it gets too cold, we got all the hand warmers. So
Love it.
there's this many hand warmers.
Oh my gosh.
You can't make it up.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We come prepared.
Well, with that kind of cold, you have to be prepared.
Yeah, well, they said there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothes. So I am a believer in that. Megan, where are you located?
I'm in Indianapolis, so I'm used to the cold, but not like crazy negative wind chills.
I don't know why we do this.
I know. I'm like, should I move to Florida?
Uh-oh.
I'm like, should I move somewhere warmer? Maybe, but I love Indianapolis.
Yeah. I've been coming up here for the last 7 winters. This is the most snow. And then before that, also many times in late 90s, early 2000s. I've never seen so much snow here. There's probably about 3.5, 4 feet on the ground. Pretty crazy.
Wow. We'll give it just a couple more minutes as people join and we'll start. Well, in about 1 minute, we'll officially get started.
Oh no. Shoot.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started. It's officially the start of the hour. So hello and welcome to everyone joining us. Today we'll be chatting about creative ideas to re-energize your events and keep donors engaged. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's take a moment to meet today's speakers. I know, John, you're troubleshooting, so I'll have Megan go first. My name is Madison Kautman, and I will be the host of today's session. I am a marketing campaign manager for GiveSmart, as well as a previous GiveSmart customer with experience working in multiple nonprofits in Michigan. Joining us today as speakers, we have John Biederman, our Vice President of Fundraising Strategy for Community Brands, and he is joining us from very northern Wisconsin in the very, very cold weather. So hopefully his connection stays strong throughout the session. And then we also have Megan Snyder, our Customer Marketing Manager for GiveSmart. So if you both want to say hi and give yourselves a little intro.
Sure. Hi, my name is John Biederman, Vice President of Fundraising Strategy. Really happy to be here, Madison. Thank you for the invitation. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to sharing, what we've found over the years to be really successful special event tips and techniques, strategies, things like that, as well as hearing from our own clients and sharing what they've been able to do, which Megan's going to go into great detail about.
Yeah, thanks, John. I second everything John said. Like Madison introduced me, my name is Megan. I'm the customer marketing manager. And it's similar to Madison. I was also a GiveSmart customer before joining the team. So I have some firsthand experience that I'm happy to talk through as well. But yes, very happy to be here today. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you both. So some housekeeping tips as we get going. Please feel free to use the Q&A box for any questions you might have as we go. Ask as many as you want throughout today's session. And then check your chat box throughout the session for resources and links we're going to share throughout the webinar. Our colleague Richard is helping us out on the back end today, so keep those questions coming and he'll pass them to us as we go. Also, today's call is being recorded and the recording will be shared with everyone attending. So let's take a moment to review today's agenda so you know what to expect for this hour. We'll start with a brief poll before we dive into creative spring fundraising, including themes, revenue enhancers, item ideas, and more. We'll have another brief poll right about in the middle towards the end of the session. Then we'll dive into event strategies for success, including registration, check-in, and more. And we'll end the call with a Q&A with whatever time we have left for questions. As we mentioned, keep the questions coming. We'll answer some live and save some for the end. And we want your input. If you have ideas to share, tips, lessons learned, anything like that, use your chat box as we go and send us those messages so that we can incorporate your ideas and feedback during the call. We love to hear from you while we're talking. It keeps us going. So let's get this first poll going real quick. There we go. We want to know more about your spring event plans. What do you have planned? If you want to share more about your event, or if you answer other in the poll, put your event details into the chat so that we can hear more about what you all are doing to further your missions. And while the poll is going, I wanted to briefly discuss an upcoming webinar opportunity. On Valentine's Day, we will be exploring GiveSmart with one of our platform experts, Nikki, and reviewing features GiveSmart has that you can use to acquire, convert, and retain your donors. So we'll be dropping a link in the chat so that you can register to attend that session. It's a short 30-minute session, but it'll be full of great how-tos and ideas for your donor management techniques. So I think that's a good amount of time for the poll. Hopefully everyone's gotten their answers in. I'm going to go ahead and end it. Looks like auction or gala takes first place, as expected. Definitely love those spring events, those auctions and galas in the spring. The organizations that I worked for also had like our largest annual events in the spring. So we love to see it, but also golf events, walks and runs, races. So some other creative ideas as well. We love to see it. So thank you for participating in that poll. Let's keep going. All right, so now that the intros are out of the way and all the housekeeping, let's get going on the main portion. So as we chat through today's session, remember that all of these ideas and suggestions, strategies, tips, and tricks are all jumping off points for your organization. Take these ideas, try something new, add something onto your existing events, or switch up your strategies a bit to engage donors in new ways. As we all know, everything we do should tie back to our mission. And everything that we do is with the goal of engaging our donors and retaining them and keeping them coming back to our organization. So, John, can you start us off with a quick brainstorm on some spring event theme ideas?
Sure. Thanks, Madison. It is the whole launch of the spring fundraising special events, as I like to say it. Of course, it also depends upon what area of the country you're in. We have some folks here from the South. Obviously, I'm way up in northern Wisconsin. It's gonna be minus 25 degrees tonight. So that can alter everything, but still a great idea for getting creative and hosting events. That's all around fun, to make it fun for participants, donors, and everyone involved, volunteers with the organization. And to be quite candid, also not only helps as lighthearted themes, but having the people that you serve involved as well. Some of the most heart-enduring and also profitable moments I've been at events is where a child or a family or someone who's been helped by the organization shares their story. And then after that, there's what's called a paddle raise. And of course, it's seeded with $10,000 people ahead of time, but then basically you lower the amount and eventually everybody gives an extra at least $50, $75. Obviously depends upon the the people that are there and their wealth. But I've seen it to be amazingly not only successful but transformational, at least in my opinion, that I've been involved in. I mean, there's people with tears. Um, you know, the ideas on these slides, they're pretty straightforward, but having a theme that your donors can buy into your event can be great for increasing overall engagement and donor enjoyment. Things like spring break related, especially if you're in northern states, people get tired of the cold. They're looking forward to summer, and having things like beach theme related with mini drink umbrellas. These things can be picked up at the dollar store and of course online, or Alibaba, I think it is. I know my wife, she used to run baseball fundraisers, and she'd just have them shipped directly from China. And these are just easy things to do that really don't cost that much. You can also focus on eco-friendly themes like a tree planting event, or getting super creative with like using April Fool's fundraising campaign to get lighthearted and even be a little silly with donors. We've seen GiveSmart customers use animal themes to do yard decorating campaigns, celebrity lookalike voting campaigns, and more. And so what things we did is that we did send a pre-webinar survey. And thank you, by the way, to everyone who submitted a response, really appreciate it, and asked about what their event plans were. So obviously on this call, we saw the people attending here focus on galas and then golf tournaments, for example. But other ones to think about is peer-to-peer campaign, that's an alumni class challenge. It can not only be an alumni class, but for example, I'm associated with it's Camp for All Kids. This organization raises money to send inner city children to summer camps. But the best thing about it is that if you are selected, not only do you get to go this summer, you get to go every summer. And so they have alumni campaigns of former campers at these camps where this is attended to raise $1,997, at which point then someone like me, and yeah, I was at camp in 1997, I was a counselor and camp director, I'll guarantee and match that money so that we can get donors from all my former campers who are now 40 to donate $50, $100, and then I'll match that. Other things that work well is like a 5K river run, family fair, softball game fundraisers. Those are actually a lot of fun. Home run contests, things like that, where they get a prize for how many hits they get. And all of a sudden, there'll be a certain segment of your donors get very, very competitive very, very quickly. Bowling tournament, family move night, a jogathon. I don't think I'd do that, but I do a walkathon. Wine tasting, I would definitely be in that, and I've been to one. Hiking days, yoga classes, a special member breakfast. Basically, what I have found is that most, not all, but most donors really do like to be treated special. And if there is a special inclusion just for their segment within the donor pool, your rate of attendance will go up specifically. And that's always true when you segment your donor database into different segments based on not just wealth, but affinity and interests and things like that, which is why a combination of events, really what I call a multi-channel marketing fundraising campaign, works well. Because I happen to love golf tournaments, for example, but I know other people do not. I don't particularly like luncheons. I know other people do like that. I'm not every donor, and neither are your donors either. Other things to take a look at is Women's Night Out, car show, summer camp. It goes back to Camp for All Kids. They hold an event called Cocktails Around the Campfire. And they literally set up campfires where people can go around, and they're not real campfires. It is indoors. But there are, it's real enough that people can go to their campfire to talk about interests related to them, based on camp interests and like that. So we do have some great specific client examples throughout today's session with creative things to help inspire your own events. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Megan.
Thanks, John. And I should say, I'm not a golf person, but I love a good luncheon. So that's where we balance each other out, I think. Yeah, but thank you so much. So this is our first example, so we can go ahead and dive in. So this was a chocolate themed event from the Hospice Foundation of Central New York. They chose the chocolate theme for this event because they wanted a lighthearted way to get hospice and their mission out to the public. but in a comfortable and fun setting. And it totally took off for them. And this year will be the 14th year for the event, which is absolutely fantastic. Their event features everything from silent auction to live music, raffles, wine tasting, and obviously lots of chocolate. They're lucky enough to work with some great local vendors from chocolatiers, bakeries, and more, who can really have the opportunity to showcase their items at the event. So it's a win-win. And if one of their vendors is unable to attend, a volunteer staff member will happily take the table as well. They keep this event on the lower price end of things for attendees and sponsors. Their sponsor levels are indicated by chocolate, for example, a milk chocolate sponsor, dark chocolate sponsor, etc. So a very fun way to incorporate your theme into sponsors. And then their 2022, that was a weird mouthful, sorry, the 2022 event was by far their most successful one to date. According to one of their employees who is an avid GiveSmart user, their use of GiveSmart had a lot to do with that. They had a lot of bidders for their silent auction that weren't even present at the event, since it can be hosted online, which really helped boost their profit. They also borrowed the golden ticket idea from another organization, which was super successful, and they will be doing it again for this year's event. And then that was where they sold 50 golden ticket opportunities at $25 a piece. And then they drew a winner from those 50 tickets, and that person got to choose any item they wanted from the silent auction before it went live. So like super incentive driven, which is so great. The event was so successful last year that they will be capping their ticket sales this year. So it hopefully will sell out pretty quickly for them. Again, we just really love to see our GiveSmart customers using the system in creative ways to extend their missions and continue to host successful events.
All right, so let's go ahead and build on ideas of creative experiences that build revenue. So for creative events, really we need to think about ways we can easily sell tickets or opportunities to donors that are engaging, like a comedy night, talent show, or event to the Easter egg drop. One of the things that I've seen it works out well is just games. What can add to your event to get your donors competitive and engaged? Personally, I've seen and we've seen with our clients massive success with games like scavenger hunts, virtual voting, bartender competitions, cooking competitions, trivia contests, and much more. I know there's one of them we'll probably be talking about later, but I've done this a number of times where we have indoor putting contests. And everybody loves putt-putt. And so the way this works is that you have a raffle off. You have maybe a 10-foot area of the floor. It can be on concrete like ours was. And they'd spend $50 and they got 3 tries. If they made it into a hole in a poster board at the other end, then they got to qualify. And then at a certain time before the big event, there's a qualifying off where it gets down to one person. Then that one person makes a long putt, which you can do insurance on this. It's only maybe $250, $300. They made a long putt of 25 feet, 30 feet. Then they can win $10,000. And what happens? Everybody lines up. Everybody lines up and roots them on. It's a big thing. They always miss, but occasionally they do make it. It's a lot of fun. There's also area around games of chance. We know these can be tricky based on state and local regulations, but the one thing I have found is that for even things like if you can do them, some creative ideas include things like Plinko boards. Everyone loves Plinko from Price is Right. And you can sell tokens or opportunities to win. If your coin lands a winning spot, you win a prize, but not every spot is a winner, of course. Heads or tails is always a fun ticketed experience to get your donors out of their seats and laughing with each other. You can also sell exclusive experiences, such as just a VIP early entrance to your event. Donors hate waiting. Their most valuable resource, in my opinion, is not money, it's actually time. And so by eliminating and making sure that they spend as little time as possible, and also that recognition thing, that can work. A golden ticket raffle, like Megan mentioned earlier, or early bidding on a select number of items in your auction really works. These can also work where the first bid is actually it's on anything that they want. So that first bid it's just back and forth. Typically goes down with the number of people. Typically, it's almost always thousands of dollars. so that they can choose exactly what they want. And you'd be surprised, it's not necessarily at all what is the most expensive auction item. I've seen things that work phenomenally well. Like we were opening up a new playground park, and we auctioned off the right to cut the ribbon. These are free things that you can offer that does not cost your organization any money, but to that kid that cuts the ribbon, or the board member that does it, or politician, they're on the photo of that, and to them that's important. So one of the things we did is we asked in a pre-webinar survey, what have you all planned to engage donors at your events? Here's what some of you shared. Raffles and 50/50, always a winner in my mind. Mini petting zoos, pony rides, trivia, photo booths, scavenger hunts. People love photo booths, by the way. And you can charge $20 for this stuff, or do it free and then make sure they're engaged later on. The paddle raise I talked about earlier, probably the easiest way to raise a large amount of money from everybody. Wish list, blackjack tables and casino games, that's still a thing. People do like doing that, and it all consolidates at the end, and they get raffle tickets, and everybody likes having the raffle ticket picked. Swag and giveaways, bring a non-perishable food on, put the internet in a drawing, box pool with potential to win a diamond bracelet that's been donated. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be sharing a couple of resources in the chat that go further in depth on some of these ideas, as well as a blog with resources on your state raffle regulations, because that is important. I know in states like Pennsylvania, it was kind of loosey-goosey up until like about 15 years ago, where everything changed, and you were allowed to do much, much larger prizes on a product. All we had to do was pay to our county a $25 registration fee, which then allowed us for 1 month to do these things. It was $25. And each state, of course, is different.
And I know, Megan, you had some experiences that you wanted to mention from your own experiences.
Oh yeah, just really quick. A lot of the stuff that I had that kind of talked about revenue enhancing was related back to the mission. So I worked for the local NPR PBS station in Indianapolis, where I'm located. And we did some great kind of fun things that related back to NPR and PBS. So one thing we did was like the opportunity to have a photo booth where you could dress up like a Downton Abbey character. Downton Abbey, BBC, PBS, right? Works nicely there. And then another fun thing was that we were able to do like a paint with Bob Ross kind of little station at one of our fundraisers. And a pretty minimal cost. Most local businesses are willing to donate clothing for one thing, art supplies for the other thing. As long as like their name can be somewhere and have sponsorship and tag them in things on social media. So those were two just kind of fun, like really different, really mission driven things that we were able to include. John, I don't know if you have anything else you want to call out for that.
No, I mean, no, I think that's fantastic. I know I'm looking at the next slide, so I'm ready to talk about golf, because that's something I love doing. So as said on this call, there's quite a large number of you, 20% or so of the people on this call indicated they're having a golf tournament. I love golf tournaments because they are back, and I think they're better than ever. I will admit this though, having a golf tournament was not always the favorite thing that a nonprofit liked to do. It was in serious decline. We had courses close around us, for example, but then COVID-19, one of the silver linings about COVID-19 is that it changed everything, and golf membership exploded, not only where I live, which is actually Philadelphia, but across the country. Previously fundraisers were pretty discounting holding a golf tournament. The number of golfers, especially older, wealthier golfers, has certainly rebounded, especially, and not only that, but also younger golfers as well, because now they're playing, they were introduced to the game during COVID-19. For revenue enhancers, I talked about the indoor putting contest, and this can be done at any event. There are a blast, because typically it is not the best golfer who ends up being the person making the putt. There's a lot of luck involved, which is why it's really popular. We had a GiveSmart customer do a ball drop using drones, where your ticket was to pick a ball or multiple balls with numbers on them, and the ball that landed closest to or in the hole when the balls were dropped won the prize. Hole-in-one prizes, as I said, a lot of people say, oh, 10,000, 5,000, 20,000, it's really expensive time. I'm like, actually, no, I've been involved with these things. You can get insurance, from holein1.com. There's a number of companies that do this. Typically, it's a few $100s, obviously for larger prizes, larger amounts. And typically they don't even need you to videotape the entire thing. There's some exceptions. They typically just need 2 attestations, perhaps 4, that says this actually happened. But people get excited about that. You can charge the donors extra for it. A cash bar golf cart is really popular, where you have quote unquote specials, for $100 you get 3 drinks, and obviously the tips go to the organization. Or typically, what you really want to have do is have 2 golf carts that do drinks, and then there's a competition with each other. And whoever's driving around the golf course typically is a board member or a staff member, and of course, they're in competition with the other golf cart. Other things, golf courses will also merchandise to golfers, discounts on future visits. What I've seen is that the winner of the closest to the pin or something like that, they end up getting a $100 golf certificate, which in reality only costs the golf shop about 50% of that value. So there's a lot of ways that can be done that are cost effective. You can also bring exclusive experience to the golf events, but also ways to improve your score. The easiest one of these is like mulligan balloons. They buy a certain number of balloons. There's a mulligan has been used on the golf course where you hear it pop, because in the beginning, a lot of groups will be in competition with each other, and also they're like making sure to check people aren't cheating, things like that. The other thing that you can sell, I've seen really work, is putting strings. It's just a string of ribbon that's about 3 feet long, and you can use this once, and you can move your ball closer to the hole. And other things I've seen is it's literally an index card with a picture of a hand, and they call it a handy sandy. And so if your ball goes into a bunker, you can redeem this card, which of course costs nothing, and you can take the golf ball and you can throw the ball instead of actually hitting it. So these are just types of things that really work out well in golf tournaments. And the other thing that is a lot of fun is that if you do have a competition that's like a long putting contest or closest to the pin, that what I've found is that you get the qualifiers and they go up right before the reception starts with awards or giveaways or whatever, and then everybody watches it on the 18th hole. And it's like nerve-wracking because I've done it once, and I'm not a bad golfer, but I'm not great, but I was like up there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm really going to mess this up. And what if I chunk it? Things like that. So everybody's watching. So these are some of the things, if you do have a golf tournament, I found, and our customers found to be really super successful.
I love
I know
that.
with that, Megan's got another example from one of our customers.
Yeah, I do. So this one is from the Ronald McDonald House Charities in Greater Charlotte. I know earlier John mentioned that, anything outdoor, anything plant based on your weather, obviously this one falls under that category. So what this organization did was they used GiveSmart to sell sunflowers in a campaign in honor of loved ones. So the sunflowers were quote unquote adopted and were displayed in the front lawn of the organization. So super simplistic, creative event with a really meaningful and mission-driven message. Creatively, like you can creatively use the custom forms within GiveSmart to make a super easy, fast checkout process for your donors. And as you can see, there's little plus buttons there. And you also have the ability to put like a maximum or a minimum, or like 100 of these are available before they sell out. So you have some flexibility within the form, whichever avenue you're trying to go down there. But the other thing that this organization did was they added a option to the form for making an additional donation outside of the flowers, which I think is a really great opportunity. And like we said earlier, any eco-friendly or earth-related event like flower sales or planting trees can be easily tied back to your mission in a meaningful way, and is relatively easy to set up and run. Also, this would be a great thing to bring your community together around Earth Day or spring break or anything like that, that kind of highlights, spending some time outside.
Perfect. And I know, John, you have some ideas on easy, creative, and free auction items. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Oh, I was starting to talk, but I was on mute.
I was trying to give you a moment.
I know. Being creative with the cost of auction items is as much as possible. It's always a great goal, especially when it comes to acquiring items for your auctions. raffles and things like that. I mean, one of the main reasons why auctions work so well is that not only can you sell away basically things that cost nothing, but I'm going to talk about those in a moment, but businesses, especially high margin business items, if you have a software company or accounting department who, they'll give away accounting software or software of anything, their margins are very, very high. So for very low cost to them, they're more than willing to give that. Which is why it works. It works for the donor that donates the item, and it also obviously works for the donor who bids on them, because they generally get a quote unquote good deal. But again, a lot of donors, I've seen gift cards being auctioned off where the gift card's $300 and the winning bid is $500. Of course, that doesn't make any sense, but a lot of things don't make economic sense when you have donors in a room. And obviously, if for those that do that, most events I've been to do serve alcohol. So that is generally, like casinos, that's generally recommended. People are more willing to donate after they've had a couple of drinks. The wine's flowing and the dollars flow as well. Some ideas about free things that can auction off at a large price. I talked about it earlier about being in the ribbon cutting photo or opening up a building. Things like that, or a park. Reserve parking or reserve seating is a big thing. Again, that saves donors time. I know for the youth sports organizations I'm involved with, we will raffle off the front premier parking spot at the complex. Now, did we ask for permission from the local township? No, but did we put a cone out there over the weekend, which we told the donor, yeah, and that blocked the spot, and we sold that for $1,200, and it's free. I guess we had to borrow a cone someplace. If you have a large space, you could also offer your existing space as a venue for a local event outside your organizations. Major donors and board members have ties to other organizations who need space. I know my own organization, we're going to be renting out the Indianapolis Children's Museum in July. And I was shocked actually how low the price was. We're absolutely going to do it. And meanwhile, this is a way that the nonprofit can make additional revenue. Naming rights is of course a big thing, and acknowledgments of gratitude, because most donors, not all, love to see everyone's favorite word in the world. What is the most popular word in the English language? It is your name. And people love to see their names, and they certainly love to hear themselves being talked about in good ways. If it aligns with your mission, you can offer free lessons or programming as well, because typically the margin on something like that, adding an extra couple of attendees to a class you're already offering doesn't cost a lot at all. Artwork, especially when created by those who benefit from your mission, as I told about before, having children, families, and other people who are involved within the mission or served by your nonprofit, tends to really sell with donors. I know the American Camping Association, a camp director created a piece of art. It was called Lost and Found, and it's in stone. It's a pair of socks and a shirt in stone. It's pretty big. What they do is they raffle it off every year. Okay, so the donor gets to keep it for 1 year, but then he gives it back. It's like the Stanley Cup, and you give it back, and then it's auctioned off again. So that's just, you have it one time donated, but then you're able to get revenue from it year after year. You could work with employees, volunteers, board or committee members to round up benefits from like credit card points. Most of the major airlines make it easy to donate miles. You could offer babysitting for a night or dog sitting for a weekend. An overnight for a donor's scout troop. That is really popular. I know the Battleship New Jersey in Philadelphia does that. And you can have photo shoots donated in kind by local photographers. The possibilities are endless with these ideas. It's really about finding high margin items that still have a unique value to donors that are willing to bid hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on these things. So with that, I'm giving it over to Megan. She's got an example to share.
Yeah, thanks. I got one more, or not one more. I think I have a few more, but we're getting there. But this is an example from Shining Mountain Waldorf School, and they held a field day fundraiser, which I feel like is a very popular thing for schools to do. It's very fun. Everybody gets to participate. So they featured field day events, food, drinks covered by the cost of the tickets. There was a live and silent auction that was held virtually during the field day, which is great engagement since you know that their donors are on their phones, especially probably taking photos, videos, posting on social media, different things like that. This is a great opportunity with like creative auction item inclusion. Again, going back to what John said, highlighting babysitters, paragliding, reserved parking, adult ballet classes, anything like that. What's actually great about this is they ended up raising over $80,000, which was absolutely fantastic for them.
Yeah, I mean, over 80,000 just on a field day alone is incredible. And I love that call out too on the slide that, did you know, experiences was the #1 top performing item category in 2022. So keep that in mind as you gather your auction items, whether they are free, you get them donated, whatever you try to put together, keep that in mind. But let's take a quick pause here. We're going to let John and Megan take a breath, take a sip of water before we move into the latter half and the Q&A. So with everything you've seen and heard today, would you like to know more about GiveSmart? Let me get the poll up and running here. All right, with like I said, with everything you've seen, we would love to know if you would like more information, whether that's going to be details on plans or pricing, a personalized demo of the platform for your organization, whatever it may be. We are here to help your organization grow. We offer 3 different platforms that are a part of a suite, from our donor CRM to our fundraise platform and our event platform. And all 3 have a very comprehensive value set of features for your organization. So, yeah, let us know if you want more information. There will also be an opportunity at the end of the call to complete a post-webinar survey where you can also let us know there. Maybe by the end of it, you might want more information. Let us know. You can let us know there as well. And as a reminder, and in case you missed it, we are recording today's call and we will be sending out in an email to all of you within the next 24 hours, the webinar recording and all of the resources that we are sharing in the chat, since we have a lot to share with you today. So let's get into the back half of today's session before we hit the Q&A. And this is on event strategies for success. So in our pre-webinar survey, we asked what kind of strategies, tips, or tricks would help you achieve more success. And we got some great recommendations. Some of you said you weren't sure, and that's why you're here today. So I hope this webinar is filling you full of ideas that you can take back to your board or event committees going forward. Some of you asked about strategies to engage donors before and after events. So more to come on that. Some of you asked for more on peer-to-peer and on marketing strategies. And although that's not our theme for today, we hear you and we are dropping some links in the chat for you on those topics, as well as text messaging and recurring gifts. So keep your eyes out for those. Again, we will be sending those in a follow-up email. And some of your comments in our survey were fantastic, and I just needed to call a couple of them out. One of you said table decor, food, beverages, auction items all need to be top of the line in order to impress and retain your groups, since they are the 1%. So great to keep in mind as you're doing your auctions, your galas, your golf outings. And as John said earlier, if you segment your donors and you have some events that target different maybe revenue pools of donors and how much they've donated in the past, you can sort of target your events and your decor and everything else surrounding what that event cost is overall and what that donor demographic looks like. And then someone else said, if there's food involved, they will come. And I can definitely agree. If there's free food involved, anyone is going to come. So I had to call that out. So John, can you go ahead and kick us off on some event strategies for before, during, and after events?
Sure, absolutely. And, that's interesting. We said about the 1% and the high end. I definitely, when I work with event fundraisers, especially if they're new or newer, they'll say, oh, well, we're going to have the chipper chicken option or roast beef instead of prime. And so you definitely want to spend more on higher quality food. Make sure you have enough bartenders. That's a huge problem. I've been to events where the bar, and that's just, people do not want to wait in line, especially donors, and they hate waiting in line, especially for auction and then trying to pay you. But that's where good technology comes into play. In fact, I believe this so firmly. Hope my colleagues don't get mad at me. But if you're not using us, please use one of our competitors. It's that important because of a number of things. You're going to give the donor a better positive experience. You're going to save them time, and it's going to save you hassle and time as well. So the technology is all around. Just start from the registration. Everything is online. It's easy to get their card in the system. There's self check-in to skip the lines. Even you want to enable that. Checkouts, for example, solves a lot of COVID problems. You have a post-event. There could be a leftover item sale, things like that. And what's important is by utilizing the tech that you have at your fingertips and the engagement ideas we've already talked about, you can significantly impact your donor experience at your events. But you can also drive more revenue. So one of the things that's been changed is that it is proven in any auction situation that when there's more competition, when there's just more bids, period, you're going to raise more money. And how do you get more bids? Well, you could do like paper silent auctions. However, by having text alerts and things like that, the donor is alerted they've been outbidded. And that's important because then they can forget. I've been in many auctions of my own where I'm like, oh, I forgot the check. Was I outbid? It's something I really want to do it. Instead of spending, $500, I only end up spending $300. And this happens a lot. So you definitely want to have competition, and technology drives more bids with the text alerts. So, when they register or purchase tickets, you can include instant items and raffle tickets for them, since part of the registration, basically door prizes for wine pools, swag, and more in ticketing forms. This not only enhances your revenue before your event begins, but it also gets all of the donors' information in the system early. So when it comes to event day, their experience can be painless. It also provides organizations with more opportunities to engage donors, bidding, networking, eating, drinking, participating in games and activities before the event. If your donors have information in the system at a time, self-checkout, it's easy. If they don't, no worries. They can send a self-check-in text message prompt so they can skip the line and check in virtually with their name, address, and credit card info if they have not already provided it. And when it comes to time for your donors to check out at the end of the night, hopefully where the cart's full and arms full of raffle tickets, donations, items won, swag, and everything else like that, everybody saves time. You can easily charge all the card on the file at once, so donors don't have to do any manual checkouts. And then virtual auctions also allow for easier, faster item organization and less time for donors to wait in line. I think I've said less time, no waiting, things like that, probably 17 times during the last 38 minutes, because donors just can't say it enough. They do not want to wait. And after your event's over and you're sending your thank yous and impact statements, you can do post-event sales of all the leftover items. This keeps your donors in the game longer. Continuing, as we talk about engagement techniques, there are endless ways to keep your donors engaged throughout the events. One idea is to delay item releases. So you can set items in your silent auction, go live at different times to keep bidders in a bidding war in waves all night. You can also utilize a text message for donation blitz moments, like everybody donating $5 in a 5-minute period. The reason why this is successful is that if you do it all at once, everybody looks at their phone. And of course, everyone will pull out their phone because the social pressure not to do that is enormous. And of course, what'll happen, people will make the $5, $50, $100 donation, but other people will sit there and kind of look at it and kind of pretend to do and watch and see what other people around them are doing. It's really kind of like a psychology experiment in real life, just unfolding before your eyes. You can also, voting, for example, is another great way to keep donors involved during your event. You have them vote on anything and everything from best artwork, best bartender, signature, event drink, best dress of the event, and much more. It's about engaging your donors. Consider engaging your donors on social media by encouraging them or incentivizing them to share your posts. That is easy to do. These many people, not all of the donors at your events, have significant presences on social media. And even though they may not post much, when they do, their voice is heard. And it costs them nothing to do that, but you get all the benefit of having the good word spread about the organization. Another great engagement strategy is to drive revenue as a matching moment or a blitz. You can encourage donors. We talked about it during a 5-minute period. And then this also works with the paddle raise, as I mentioned before. By far and away the easiest way to make money. There's all kind of resources on how to do that correctly. And then the last thing that I would say in case we don't do it, is that probably a major difference is to make sure you have the right MC and auctioneer. Typically, personality is, the president of the board. Yeah, those are nice people. I've MC'd one before, but the difference between a good auctioneer and a great auctioneer is tens of thousands of dollars. It's not that they cost tens of thousands of dollars more. They are able to extract out tens of thousands of dollars more out of a crowd. This is their profession. This is what they do. And I've seen really good ones do this. And it's free money is the way I look at it. And they're very, very good at this. So with that, we're going to going back to Megan to talk about another example, Salisbury School, where actually I was at one of their events and I did bid on something there.
Yeah, no, John, and once I walk through this example, I would love for you to talk a little bit more about that. But the one thing that I did want to call out when you were talking about auctioneers is that to me, I've seen, live auctioneers at different kinds of events, and it truly is like an art form. It's like fantastic. Like they just do such a great job of engaging the audience and still sharing the mission and things like that. So in what I'm saying is I totally agree with you. But for this example, like John mentioned, this organization or this school, excuse me, had their event be an around the world theme. I know we've talked a lot about themes today, but this is kind of a fun, different one. And they had an extended event timeline to accommodate their in-person and online bidders. One thing you can see on the screen, it's with the black background, excuse me, was they had an embedded flippable program, so that way people could see through everything that was on their event page, which is just a really great additional like technology item to have. And as you can see, they had a great range of auction items for their live and silent auction. And for this specific example, they ended up raising over $230,000. John, do you want to share any more about the items you bid on or what that experience was like for you when you were there? Oh no.
Their
I hope John
parent,
can hear me.
their parents had, oh, I can hear me.
You're good now.
So I was there, and they had a suite at the Eagles for any game at the Eagles schedule in the fall of that year. And there's 20 seats. So I'm like, well, I started calling around friends to see how much money they would be willing to get at the table, calling friends who were not at the event. And I'm saying, what you were willing to do? And very quickly I had a number and we were able to win that. And it was an amazing experience. And so it's offering experiences that are unique, that are elite, really can drive the value of the bidding process up. And so, and that's something I couldn't imagine. In fact, when I did it, my wife thought I was crazy, but then I'm like, no, I got this backed all up, and then we had a great time. So, and it supported a great cause. So it was a win. It was a win-win there in my specific example.
That's amazing. I love that example. And even just the example that we included on the slide of having tickets to see Stephen Colbert in New York City and these different items that they were able to pull that are just kind of above and beyond some of what we've seen before, is like they might have put in the extra work. Maybe they knew someone who could pull some of those items and experiences for them. But the more you can do to engage your donors with different items like that is really incredible, and it shows in how much they raised. So without any further ado,
I've got another example of
just
something that's free that went for hundreds of dollars. Was a back stage tour. And it's not something they offer, of a theater. And it was in New York City. It was the Schubert Theater. My daughter absolutely loves Hamilton, and we were going to want to go once the ticket prices, fell down to a reasonable amount. But then I was able to get this experience for her, and it was unbelievable. We went through all the dressing rooms. They're like this big. I mean, they're so tiny. And we even went to the roof. Because they installed all the theaters in New York City are like about 100 some plus years old. None of them had air conditioning back then. So they all had a retrofit air conditioning. And this particular, he was very proud that they were still able to hold performances while installing air conditioning. And so, that's just something that I will always remember. I got pictures, and my daughter was like, "Holy cow!" She was in theater. She's a lifelong theater person, high school theater person, and so it's experiences like that may not be worth a lot of people. You may not think it's worth a lot of money, but it is worth a lot of money to a certain segment of your donors.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an amazing experience. And I am jealous because I'm a big fan of Hamilton as well. So that is something that I would have also bid on. We would have gotten into a bidding war. You and me, John. But I will just say we have a couple questions that we can go over with our last few minutes. And one question that came through, I have some ideas on, so I'll share my ideas and then let you guys jump in as well. Someone asked if we have any ideas for like creative high-end swag for like their golf events, because those events tend to be more expensive. So they want to make their golfers' money worth it. So if they're going to offer some swag as prizes or maybe giveaways or something like that, what kinds of higher end quality swag do we have ideas for? So some stuff that I've seen from my experiences, we offer different things like custom golf clubs, golf bags, and or towels, sometimes as a set, sometimes separately. So they would have obviously our logo on them or something like that. We also offered a golf themed grill set. So they were grill utensils where like your spatulas were shaped like your John, you're gonna laugh at me because I don't know golf very well. I think your drivers or something, your little spatula, like tong things. One like spoon scooper was shaped like a golf ball. It was hilarious, but it was actually a very high quality grill set. So for a summer golf tournament, that went over really, really well. We've also done branded tumblers, so you can do different brands like Stanley, Yeti, and different things like that, where you could either private label with them, or, you can even find some online that are maybe a more generic brand, but still do the same thing. And they're still a high quality, maybe insulated cup or tumbler. Branded coolers. They could be large, they could be small, whatever. We've seen stuff like that. And also some higher end clothing. So like some shirts that are like athletic gear, your Adidas, your Under Armour, your Lacoste, different brands like that. You could offer them in different sizes for your golfers that have your logo on them or something like that. So those are just some ideas that I had that were top of mind. Do you guys have anything else to add?
One of the things I've found that has worked well is to some of the swag can be like the golf towels. So golfers do go through their towels. They only have a certain shelf life, but having things like from Pinehurst, from the Masters, things like that. For an auction item, a signed flag at any PGA event. That happens a lot. So they sell off the flags, and or you can get it donated, and that can have a lot of value. But then, if you're giving it to everybody, the personalized golf balls, those are hit. There's online. The whole golf special event industry is wildly different from what it was as just little as 10 years ago. There are all kind of sites where you can get golf balls that are logoized. It's really, really simple. You can upload the image, they send it to you. For the high end things, you do want to invest that money in there. It all based. I've been to golf tournaments that cost $200 a person to $2,000 a person. So it's all a wide variety of what you get there. I wouldn't say you go completely overboard. I mean, after all, we are trying to raise money for the event, but do know if there's something special there, that makes me remember the golfer, remember the event. So they is really good, because that makes them make sure they go next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else that came to mind while you were talking also is to go along with that, those experiences, since experiences and tickets and things like that have been historically doing so well in auctions and everything too. Maybe it can work as swag if you could find your local ranges. I know that was something that was very common for us. Our local courses would donate a foursome or something like that, with or without a golf cart. But also something that's become super popular in my area is Top Golf, where you can just shoot out into the targets and have a ton of fun. And they were handing out coupons to us while we were there at Top Golf so that we would come back. So see if you could make a relationship with them, get maybe some certificates or something, get one of their their bays donated or something for an hour for your golfers or something, following up with the event. That could be fun. So there's definitely a lot that you can do to get creative with that.
There was a question, can you set a hole in one at a golf range? My answer would be absolutely yes. You just need to coordinate with the golf range. They wouldn't do it at Top Golf because it's, corporate, but just one mention about Top Golf. I no affiliation whatsoever, but I can tell you this: my mother is 86 years old, and she went to and won. All right, all these different games, and you hit the right segment, and a lot of it's luck too. There's these games on a thing, and she ended up winning. So that's something that you don't have to be golfers to have fun at, like an event like that at a driving range or something like Top Golf. It's really, there's something there for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And thank you for touching on that question about the hole-in-one contest at a driving range. I have never seen that before. My experience with golf events has been limited, but that's amazing. And I can only imagine how difficult that would be. And I think one more question that we had was about like item ideas and incentives for schools. And I know, Megan, you have some ideas on different ways to incentivize parents and students and PTAs and everything for different school events. Do you want to take it away?
Yeah. And then John, once I kind of go through these, if you have anything that comes to mind, jump in too. A lot of the ideas that John talked about earlier, like parking spots, anything like that, can also be used for schools, regardless of the age. I would say I was trying to think of a handful of things off the top, like, that might be free or like more affordable based on things that the school might already have or might be able to get donated. So one thing that I have a list in front of me, so that's why, sorry if I keep looking down. But creating some sort of like themed basket for any grade level, right? So maybe a mom who's in second grade wants to get her kid ready for third grade, so she buys the third grade basket, right? Or we've seen like college graduation baskets and things like that. That can be a really creative thing. Always pizza parties, any sort of parties, anything like that that you can bid on. Parking spots, like we said earlier. Any sort of like school like swag or clothing or anything like that. Also, if it's like uniforms, like a day without uniforms. Principal for a day is one thing we've seen that's kind of fun and kind of different. Sponsoring field trips is another thing that I've seen come about fairly recently. Any sort of like sports passes, like if the school charges like $5 to go to any event, then you would bid on getting into any event, like the sports pass period for anything, which is kind of fun and kind of different. Reserved graduation seats. I think that fits for like basically any space where you graduate. I haven't been in school in a minute, so I guess I think of like high school and college, but I know kids graduate from kindergarten to first grade or fifth grade to sixth grade or things like that. So just some fun options there. A friend of mine, she always tries to get in line first for carpool, but you could also have that reserved easily in the same way John said, with like a cone or something like that, or a nice little pass, which is kind of fun. And then another thing we've seen become popular, especially as like an instant buy item or something like that, is buy teachers like XYZ, right? So like buy teachers fun donut Friday or something, or buy the teachers like Starbucks coffee or something like that, just as like a nice thank you to, show off like your appreciation for your school administrators. That could also be anything as far as like new supplies, new sports equipment, anything like that. Yeah, John, I just said a lot of things, but is there anything you want to add that I'm not thinking of?
No, I think you really did a great job there. I mean, there is a lot of creativity with special events. But one of the things is I would say anytime that you're able to save donors time or give them special attention, a unique experience, that can be raffled off. It can be auctioned off, and that's just an easy way to get thousands of dollars. Like your Easy Pass carpool line pass, Easy Pass.
Yeah.
Wayne's World on the front row, backstage pass, things like that. So those are all, you're all absolutely correct. It was great.
Yeah. And one last question before we go. We have just a couple minutes. And I have some ideas for this one as well. What ideas do you have for themes for a gala? We hold a gala every year, but I would appreciate some fresh ideas for this year. So some ones that come top of mind just from galas I've been to. There's a local one that they do an event called Tux and Tennies, where you show up in cocktail attire, but then you wear like your most fun, like tennis shoes or sneakers. So I have like bedazzled tennis shoes that I would wear with like a, like a cocktail dress, which is hilarious. And they would dress up the event with like different like Converse and tennis shoes on all of the tables as part of their centerpieces. And they're a children's organization. So hence the tennis shoes and raising money for children's care and things like that. Also anything that you can do with like the decades. I recently was at a 20s themed gala, and that was so much fun because everyone was dressed up in 20s theme attire. There was all of this, Art Deco decor everywhere, and it was just a ton of fun and jazz music playing. And they even had a live jazz band from Flint, Michigan come and play. So just anything like that. What else do you guys have for some theme ideas?
I've got two. One is a flyaway. So what that is that people dress up to go to it's typically in winter if there's cold, but they dress up in warm weather clothes because the idea is that they'll be selected or they might win the prize of airplane tickets, that night. Of course, they actually don't go. It's a voucher. All right. A lot of people's schedules can't do it, but it's fun seeing what people joining, some people dress in safari, for example, things along the, tennis outfits, things like that. The other one that I've seen has worked is a fancy hat. I'm like, a fancy hat? Well, what's well, I didn't know that there's a whole world of fancies, right? They're called fancies, they're hats, they're fancy. And, but then also the men, can wear top hats, or bowler hats or things like that. And of course, that's hilarious because this can run the gauntlet from, the 1800s stovepipe hat to, something from a fancy hat from, this year's Met Gala. So it's things like that I've seen work out well.
Yeah. I was going to say, Madison, you said 20s, and I've seen some other stuff, obviously decades, like 90. I mean, I'm a 90s baby. So, like 90s is fun, 80s, 70s. I know there's an organization in Indianapolis doing a 70s themed brunch, which is kind of fun as a fundraiser. I've been at a handful of events where there was like a circus theme, which is kind of fun. I've seen like a full safari theme where they like encourage people to wear like animal print style clothing or ties or socks or something fun like that. I've also seen some like, I am in Indianapolis, but I've been seeing some stuff like Kentucky Derby related, like fun events. I've also seen some like Mardi Gras themed stuff is really fun. I'm trying to think if there's anything else off the top of my head that comes, but I don't know. This stuff's always like fun to brainstorm. Oh, I thought of another one. I know we're at time, so I apologize, but I've seen people do something in the style of like a family reunion, like a big picnic. That was a big theme for an organization I worked at, kind of to bring everybody back together for the first time since 2020. So it was kind of like, we're getting back together, like the gang's back together, things like that. It was really cute and it went over really well. Yeah,
I also love themes that just like kind of go along with popular culture too. So like anything that could be like TV show or movie related, like your Harry Potter, your Friends, your, anything like that. Masquerade balls. You could do an evening in Paris. Like I think back to some of the old prom themes that I've seen, like Under the Sea, casino night. Like you can really get creative and have a ton of fun with your event themes. So thank you. That's a really fun question. That really got our wheels turning. But on that note, we are at time. So it's time to say farewell for today. But please, like I said earlier, use that end of webinar survey to share your feedback with us and request contact if you want to learn more about GiveSmart or if you have additional questions. And thank you to everyone who joined us. Thank you to John and Megan for your time and extending your expertise to all of us. We will see everyone next time.
Yep. Take care. Good luck, everybody.